Hello, I'm Tim Sprague. This is normally when you'd be seeing one of my narrations or other type of videos, but both William and I are on vacation this week. You've probably already seen his vacation video on Wednesday, and if you have, you'll know that we're doing things a little bit differently this week. We're not talking about any fictional stories that we've made or doing any creations like that. Instead, we're each posting a video of strange or um, in the case of mine, I'm not sure you can call it paranormal, but just odd events that have happened in real life. And we'd love to hear from you in the comments about the experience you've had yourself. So without further ado, uh, so my story, it actually starts quite a while ago. It would have been about 12 years now. Uh, my son Alex at the time was 4, and we lived in a small 2-bedroom apartment at the time. There were 4 of us in there. Anyone who's ever tried to get 2 kids and 2 adults into a 4-bedroom, that'd have been wonderful. Into a 2-bedroom apartment will know that that's just not a lot of space. So what we ended up doing was we wanted Alex and his older sister to each have their own rooms. So my wife and I ended up sleeping in the family room. We had a futon that we slept on, ridiculously uncomfortable. And then Alex had one of the bedrooms, and Catherine had one of the bedrooms. Uh, so at the time, we had an event that we really couldn't explain, but we also sort of wrote off for a long time. He Alex one night woke up yelling from one of the bedrooms. It wasn't very common. When that boy went to sleep, he was knocked out. Like, he was not going to get up when he was down. So it was strange to hear him yelling. We went in, and he was complaining about how his back was hurting. So went under the bed, picked him up, picked up his shirt, and there was a series of long scratch marks along his back. Um, First we thought maybe they have the safety gates that go on the side of the beds. We thought he had fall down and scraped on that, but there's not really a way for that to work. Like, even if one of the poles had come out, this was a series. Best way I can describe it is with my fingers here that were just not that far apart from each other and went straight down. So they look like fingernail marks. There's just no way one of those safety gates is going to work that way. Even if you hit one of the pipes, it would have been a single scratch, or at worst 2, but you're not going to get 4, equidistant scratches like that. So yeah, it was weird, right? But we humans tend to be very good at rationalizing things. We just thought it was an incident that had happened. And, for the longest time, that's what it seemed like it was. Well, uh, life went on. We moved out of the apartment. We ended up moving into a townhouse that was a 3-bedroom townhouse. My wife and I welcomed 2 more children into our family to go up to a total of 4. Yes, we have 4 children. And yes, I am always very, very tired. That is beside the point, though. So we moved into the townhouse. Nothing really happened there. Nothing strange, nothing out of the ordinary. We were there for a number of years. Basically, we're trying to save up to be able to buy a house. If anyone has tried to buy a house in the last 10 years or so, you know how difficult that has been. It always seemed like the goalposts kept being moved on us, where we would get to a certain dollar threshold and we think that we were on the right track to be able to get a house that year, and then some medical emergency would come up, or the rates would change, or we wouldn't be able to find a house that matched with the time that our lease was up. So there was no way to get out of the lease and then get into the house. And anyone who's tried to go month to month on a lease knows it's ridiculous. It takes you up. It would have taken us up to about $1,300 to $1,400 a month. And that just was not anything that we could do for any length of time. So kept getting put off. 2 years ago, we finally got everything to fall into place. We had money put aside for the down payment. We had enough in our savings for the move. We found a house that was in our price range. In fact, it's more of a house than we thought we were going to be able to get, just because it needed some fixing up. Nothing major about it. It had a new roof. The structure was great. The bones are really good in the house. And we didn't mind putting in some things. Like if you see here in the background, this is a finished basement. It didn't have flooring when we were in here. There was no door over in that area. No, the paneling here. We all did this when we came into the house. The bar over here was up, and I'll play a factor here in a second. But just to kind of give you an idea, it wasn't anything structural. The only thing is we had to do in the house were all just adding on and continuing on what had already been started. So we got moved in, and for a few months, everything was wonderful. Can't tell you how amazing it is to get into a house over an apartment. That's for another day. About, I want to say about 4 or 5 months after we moved in, our youngest daughter, Abby, started saying that she was seeing a man in the upstairs hallway. And I'm going to get a picture up in here when I edit the video so you can sort of see this hallway. The way that it's angled in the house, it doesn't really get much light, so it's always dark up in that area. Even when you turn on the lights in the hallway, they're still very, very shadow filled. There's just, especially with the doors closed, it's a very, very dark hallway. So, we assumed she was seeing things. She kept insisting, though, that about the man in the hallway. And it was always the man in the hallway. She wasn't scared. There was nothing she was afraid of. It was just she would be adamant that there was a man up in the hallway. This went on for a couple of months, and then it just suddenly stopped. And I mean, our assumption, at the time she should have been 4, and she would have been 4 herself, which is, again, a little strange when you think about it, because what had happened to Alex was at the exact same age. But in any case, she stopped talking about it, so we assumed, that was the end of it. That it had just been her imagination, and it had just run her course. So fast forward about 6 months, and she didn't talk about it in the hallway anymore, but she and her little brother, who, just to add to the strangeness of this, was right around the same age then that she had been, they're both saying they have ghosts living under their bed. Now, again, kids' imagination comes into this, right? But at the same time, we've been very careful to keep them away from those kind of things. I know it sounds strange because I'm a horror writer and a horror content creator, but we've kept the youngest two especially away from any sort of real horror content. I can't even think of anything, and I'm sure I'm forgetting something, but I can't think of anything that they would have interacted with that had ghosts. I think probably the closest thing I can think of is Pac-Man. But they were insistent that there were ghosts living under their bed. And of course, we go up there, we check, and there's nothing under there, except for roughly 6,000 stuffed animals that have been shoved underneath underneath the mattress. And they're on the short beds too. They're on the little toddler beds. So they're only about a foot off the ground at most at the bottom level of it. So it's not like it was one of the dogs. I mean, we have 2 dogs, but they're both larger breeds. So it definitely wasn't one of them. Besides, we don't really let them up in the bedroom when we're not up there. And then after about 3 months of this, it stopped again. There was no more mention about the ghosts under the bed. And yeah, I got curious about it. I got curious if they were still saying that they were seeing these things, but I'm also not going to bring it up. I'm not going to sit there and say, hey, are you still seeing those ghosts? And then just get it to start all over again. So we let it drop. During this time, the number of times these strange things had happened, it's got me thinking. And I took a look into the house. There's no mention of anything that had happened in this house. There's no deaths, no murders, nothing about that. There's not even any mention of anybody, even elderly passing away in the house. There's nothing as far as I can tell about it. That's strange. The house was made back in the 50s, but there hasn't been anything since then. There's been a clear selling record, and there haven't been any deaths that have passed the house along or anything along those lines. So now we're in January of this year, and The kids haven't said anything about the ghosts or about a man in the hallway or anything like that in quite some time. Um, so something you need to know is that this room that I'm in is both is sort of a combination office, family room, and my bedroom. Um, I can't sleep in a bed. I've always had a harder time doing it, but I have to for some reason I have to be in a chair to sleep. I think it's probably a breathing thing. I've always had a weird thing where I'll just start um, choking a little bit or start really heavily snoring if I'm in a laying down position, and I've never been able to get comfortable either. So there's just something about that I have to be sitting upright, and my wife is very different. She needs to be laying down. So um, she still sleeps up in the bedroom, and I'm down here in the family room because I just sleep in the chair. I sleep in one of the chairs at night. I have actually a really going on a little tangent here. If you're like me and you end up sleeping in a chair, get the ones that have like the extra length, always out footrests. They're just they do wonders for you. They do wonders for your back because if you're a chair sleeper, you know the back can cause issues. All right, getting back on track. That's important because um, and you can see it here. There's a door here behind me, and then there's the stairs that lead down from it. And my chair is right over here. It's off camera, but it's directly to my left from where I'm sitting here on there. So when I'm facing the TV, which is over here, and I can see the stairs off just slightly to my right. One night in January, I'm starting to fall asleep. I'm starting to drift off in the chair, and in sitting over in her chair. It was never intended to be her chair, but she claimed it, and she's a Great Dane. So, what are you going to do? Was our dog Agatha. She's laying down, she's curled up, what we jokingly call a puddle of dog. We're both drifting off to sleep. Lights are off. The TV's on because I listen to rain sounds when I sleep. I'm just about out. My eyes are starting to close. I can feel myself sort of slipping off. And then all of a sudden, on the stairs, I see this. And it's strange because I couldn't tell what I had saw until afterward. There was some sort of figure that was hurrying down the stairs, that was rushing very, very quickly down them. I snapped awake immediately. There was nothing there. So, I got adrenaline pumping through me at this point. I'm a little bit freaked out. Um, and I started thinking through what I had seen, and it was an all black figure. And in my mind, I'm seeing two large, almost softball sized white eyes. No pupil, no anything. Just a white figure, or excuse me, a black figure with white eyes. And my first instinct is to write it off as my mind playing tricks on me. I was just about asleep. I probably saw some sort of motion. Maybe I caught a shadow under the door because the door connects into the kitchen. I couldn't hear anybody up there, but I was thinking, well, maybe this is an explanation for it. So I've convinced myself that I hadn't really seen what I had thought that I had seen. I look over the chair where Agatha's laying down, and she hasn't gotten up or anything, but she's raised her head, and she's looking directly at the stairwell, exactly where I had seen this figure. She isn't the kind of dog that like follows your gaze. She's the kind of dog that if she sees you move, she wants to be the center of attention and will just simply step over on top of you and get in your face. So it's not like she was following my gaze. She's not, I hate to say this about Agatha, she's not that smart. She's a big, lovable, dumb animal, but that's not the way that she works. Still, I managed to convince myself, okay, well, that's got to be a coincidence. Or maybe I saw the shadow coming in front of the door and she caught a glimpse of it too. Does that make much sense? No, not really. Her chair is back facing the stairs. If you see the bar over here, her chair is directly below it. So, and it faces outward. So she literally had her back to the stairs. So that didn't really make a lot of sense, but you'd be amazed again what you can convince yourself of happening. So I'm up for probably about another hour there. I've got adrenaline pumping through me. I am awake. So I stay up for about another hour. I watch a couple of videos on YouTube. I check some things on my phone. I finally start drifting off again. And my eyes just start to close again. And all of a sudden, directly in front of me, I see the same black figure, same white eyes, arms stretched out, and is just flying towards me. I mean, it running, but just moving with this in, I hate to use the term, but inhuman speed towards me. I flash back awake. It's gone again. Agatha is, well, I say something. I know that I said something. I don't know what it was. I think it was like it was no or oh or something like that, like a surprise exclamation. Agatha is out of her chair. She's standing on all fours. She's growling. And the first thought is she heard me. She heard me exclaim something. It frightened her. She's up and growling. But then I start thinking back, and I would swear that I heard her growling before I made the exclamation. She would, I would bet, I would bet my life that she was getting out of that chair and growling immediately before I saw what I saw. Could it be my mind playing tricks on me? Absolutely. Yeah, that's even the most likely scenario. But it's strange that these events keep happening, and it's weirdly happening at somewhat constant intervals in terms of the kids' ages and when they're seeing things and when things are happening after that. They're coming these steady things. The last twist to this is I thought about it a lot in the week after that, after it occurred. And I have this vague memory that, or a vague feeling with a sort of an image, I guess is a better way to put it, that I had seen this before. I had seen this figure before. And in my mind, it's standing next to this bar, the bar that's back over here, in the corner. So if you follow my thumb sort of over in there, that's where the bar opening is. I remember standing there, same thing, shadowy, large, all white eyes, staring straight at me. And the only angle that could have happened at, and that it would have been looking on, that I would have been looking directly at the thing, would have been before we rearranged the family room down here. So the chair would have been over, I don't know if you can see that door over here, that leads to the laundry room. The chair was over next to there, and the TV was across. And that happened, that would, or the way the timing that works out, it would have been almost immediately after the kids stopped saying there was a ghost under their bed. So the timing is pretty freaky. I talked to my wife about this a few weeks ago, and she mentioned that she's had things happen. In fact, she told me earlier today that last night when she was laying in bed, she felt someone sit on the bed. Both kids were out at that point, the younger ones. The older ones obviously don't come into the bedroom. That'd be far creepier than anything paranormal happening. Sylvie, her dog, was already out and asleep on the other side of the bed, but she felt, as she was reading on her phone, pressure on the bed of someone sitting on it. And if you've ever had somebody sit down on a bed, you know there's no other feeling quite like that. So, is it paranormal? I don't know. There's literally no way to know. This could all be chalked up to just a series of coincidences or strange events or minds playing tricks or any number of other things. But there's only so many times that you can keep writing things off until you start really questioning about, is there something else going on here? So that's my story. If you kind of want another account of it, if you go onto our website, there's a blog post called The Curious Case of the Lunging Man. That's a nonfiction thing. That's my written account for when it first happened. And I felt like I needed to get it out. But yeah, that's my story. And I'd love to hear yours. Please, down in the comments, leave your own stories of things that have happened to you or happened to people that you know. We'd love to hear them. Love to hear things our community has experienced. So, I know I'm running a little bit long, so thank you very much. I'm Tim Sprague. I'm one of the co-founders of The Last Lodge, and as always, thank you for checking out the channel.